本师释迦牟尼佛，南无本师释迦牟尼佛，南无本师释迦牟尼佛，南无ตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะ So we don't need to read word by word. I will actually summarize the meaning, and we will only read that what is very important for our practice. So, what is the difference between the meditation on the breath, as we learn in the Southern tradition, and between the meditation on the breath that we learn here? Now, before we start explaining, we have to explain the context of this text. This text comes from the Yogacara Bhumi Shastra I have mentioned each Yeshatilun, which is, in a way, we can say, the most important source of our information on the Shamatha and Vipassana meditation in the Northern tradition. The teachers in China and in Tibet both refer basically to this text. So you will find that in a way this text is kind of a base for our understanding of Shamatha and Vipassana in the Northern tradition. Now, this text belongs to the part of Yogacara Bhumi Shastra which explain the practice of the disciples. Actually, Yogacara Bhumi Shastra is a text which is kind of a base text of the Yogacara tradition, and the Yogacara tradition, as you may know, is part of the Mahayana philosophy. Actually, in Mahayana we have two, or I don't like the word Mahayana, we can say the scriptures explaining the Bodhisattva path. The scriptures explaining the Bodhisattva path are based on two great philosophies. One is called Madhyamika, which has been formed, systematized, not formed, but rather systematized. The path of the Bodhisattva is based on the transcendental wisdom. What makes a path of Bodhisattva is precisely the transcendental wisdom. When we practice the path of Bodhisattva, we practice the transcendental wisdom. Transcendental wisdom is what makes the practice of paramis, of the perfections, a bodhisattva practice. Without all, in order to attain the Bodhi, to become a Buddha, we all need to practice paramis. But what makes this practice of paramis a bodhisattva practice is the transcendental wisdom. And the transcendental wisdom is the base for the Bodhisattva practice. Now, this part of the text explained the Shravaka practice, the disciple practice. And the disciple practice leads to the state of an arahat. Arahat is one who has removed defilements. The Bodhisattva is one who is to attain the state of Buddhahood. The state of Buddhahood is a state not only free from defilements, but also free from all obstacles to knowledge. It is a state of omniscience. And the state of omniscience is based not only on the removal of the defilements, it is based on removal even of the habitual energies which kind of prevent beings to what the Mahayana or what the Mahayana scriptures called remove all kinds of grossness. The practice of meditation, according to the teachers of Mahayana, is a practice of removal of grossness. This grossness has a technical term, Daushturiam, in Chinese, Tsu Zhong. We become the perfectly enlightened Buddhas when we have removed all grossness. All grossness means even the habits which are, so to say, preventing us from realizing what the Mahayana teachers call the Dharmakaya, the body of the truth. So, even in the Agamas, you will find the same idea. The real Buddha is the Dharma. And we can only become the Dharma itself when we have removed completely all grossness, even the most subtle grossness. The Arahat, they have removed defilements, they have removed the causes for future rebirth, which is karma. But they still have their habits. It is very difficult to remove the habits. And these habits can only be removed when one has attained the omniscience in all aspects, by removing even the most subtle grossness. And grossness comes from holding to the signs of objects. These signs of objects, they have also a technical term which is called nimitta. So this text, as we say, belongs to explains the Shravaka path. But as we will see, the author being a kind of a proponent of the Bodhisattva path, he brings into the understanding of the Shravaka path already the ideas connected with the path of Bodhisattva. Because the ultimate aim is to remove all grossness. And to remove all grossness, how to remove all grossness? To penetrate not only, it is said in these scriptures, that there are two kinds of the self of the persons and the self of the phenomena. The scriptures explaining the path of the disciples emphasize removal of the concept of the self of the persons, while the scriptures emphasizing the path of the Bodhisattva emphasize the removal of the self of the phenomena. Only then even the most subtle kinds of grossness can be removed. And then the mind itself at least in this philosophy, the mind itself becomes a suchness, and the suchness is the object of realization of the Bodhisattva path. The realization of the body of truth, body of Dharma. This just a short understanding. Now, in this text, you will find a very interesting approach to meditation. This text, Shravaka Bhumi, actually, even though Shravaka Bhumi, or the path of the disciples, is to explain how to become an arahat, yet still, in this part of the text, we get practically all the most important informations about the practice of Shamatha and Vipassana, which also refers even to, which is also base for explanation of Shamatha and Vipassana for the Bodhisattvas, to attain the body of the truth, to attain the omniscience in all aspects. So, in a way, this Shamatha and Vipassana, even so it is explained in the framework of the practice of the disciples, it is a base also for our understanding of the practice of the Bodhisattvas. Now, just in short, let you understand the peculiarities of this approach. According to this approach, the process of realization has actually 4 stages, or 4 objects rather. As long as we have not realized the ultimate reality, call it suchness or call it nirvana, all that we experience is actually the mental images. Very important to understand. We have already explained before. Why like that? We have explained the objects of what we realize in meditation is that all objects are based in mind. Learning meditation is to turn to the mind. The secret of meditation is in the mind. Now, according to Buddhism, actually, the objects of our defilements are the concepts, not the reality. Because we don't understand the reality, we give rise to defilements. The car that we are attached to, the money that we are attached to, the woman that we are attached to, are actually concepts. The real woman has disappeared already. The real car that we see is actually image in our mind. The money that we hold to is also image in our mind, is a concept. Why? Because it is not objective. A dog sees $100 bill, he will have no interest for that at all. But his eyes see the same object. When he sees bone, he will be attracted, but we will be disgusted when some flesh on it. So, because we have different concepts, we have a different karma. So actually, we see reality in accordance with our concepts. And these concepts, they also are, as long as we have not experienced the reality, these images, they are also our objects of meditation. What we meditate on are actually the concepts, not the reality. We do not know the reality. This is very important to understand. If we want to understand the Bodhisattva practice, we have to contemplate that. Actually, the reality is inexpressible. Especially the Mahayana scriptures, the Transcendental Wisdom Sutras, the Sandhi Nirmochana Sutra, base for the Yogacara philosophy, they all emphasize the unexpressible nature of reality. This is not so difficult to understand, especially for the Chinese. Tao, Ke Tao, Fei Chang Tao. But this is a base also for our understanding of the practice. And it comes in a way even in this text. Even so, it belongs to the Shravaka path. You will find in this text also the idea of actually the real reality is unexpressible. Why? Because the suchness you cannot hold, you cannot grasp. The ultimate reality you cannot grasp. What we grasp is actually the image of the reality. The image of the objects. And this image, strangely enough, in this tradition is called pratibimba. Pratibimba actually means reflected image. Yin Xiang. Now, the peculiarity of this tradition is, of Northern tradition in general, you will find this tendency even in the scriptures explaining the path of the disciples, is to try to combine the Shamatha approach to meditation and the Vipassana approach to meditation, so to say, even from the very beginning. And it is done on the base of this idea of an image. When we meditate on breath, actually we also meditate on the image of the breath. This image of the breath, as the text explains, is not the same what we experience with the body, but it is also not different from it. What we experience with the body is the pushing sensation, the heat, the coolness. But this is always changing. But now we want to practice concentration and wisdom. We need an object which is stable. Otherwise, how shall we stabilize the mind? So on the base of what we experience from the senses, we make the image of the object. And when the image of this object is to be differentiated, we have a Vipassana approach to meditation, insight approach to meditation. When this object is not differentiated, it means we hold the same image in the past, at present, and we are trying to keep the same image also in the future. We are practicing shamatha. And the basic principle of Buddhism is only the concentrated mind, samahitam chitam yatha bhutam pasati. Only the mind in the state of concentration sees things as they really are. If we don't have concentration, we cannot see things as they really are. Now in this text also we have explained that the meditation on the breath has 6 steps. Please remember them. We will keep on talking about them. In this text which is also the base for understanding of meditation on breath in Chinese tradition, even in Tiantai, Zhi Fashi must have been very familiar with this text. So these Liu Miao Men, these 6 wonderful methods which bring us to liberation, they are called wonderful because they bring us to liberation. They are counting, following, and placing. According to the northern tradition, like Abhidharma Samuccaya, actually practicing shamatha means placing the mind on the object, to practice sthapana, ju. So the process of shamatha is based in this tradition on the 9 dwellings, Shinju, of the mind in shamatha. We may talk about them. And they explain the process of placing the mind on the object, on a non-differentiated object, on a non-differentiated image. But while placing your mind on the non-differentiated image, it does not mean that you strictly avoid the differentiation. No, you can combine the approach of placing the mind on the image and the differentiation. So according to Abhidharma Samuccaya, the Vipassana is the Vichara Bhavana. Vichara means actually sustained attention or sustained mind. And we sustain the mind on the differentiated images of the objects. And we investigate them. But in order to sustain mind on them, we have to have concentration. If we don't have concentration, we cannot sustain the mind on them. To investigate their qualities. So these 6 steps in meditation on the breath, they have to be understood as a one whole process of penetrating the breath. Now, penetrating the breath, as even Visuddhimagga explains, means sublimating the breath. Learning meditation on the breath means learning to sublimate the breath, make the breath more and more sublime. The concentration makes the breath sublime, but wisdom also makes the breath sublime. Both make the breath sublime. So the perfect understanding of the breath is based on the sublimation of the breath by both the shamatha, emphasizing the non-differentiated image, and vipassana, emphasizing the differentiated image. And the differentiated image, as our text explains, explain the stage of observation, of turning away, vivartana, and of purity. When we attain the purity, we have become an arahat. So we will talk more how to combine this work on the differentiated image and non-differentiated image. But first, we have to cultivate concentration. This text also explained that only when we have prashrabdi means clarity and relaxation, only then we can actually join the Shamatha and Vipassana into one and get a realization. We will talk about it more. So now the first topic explained in this text, the background that I wanted to explain is that actually when we meditate on the image of the breath. As long as we have no realization, actually all that we know are just images. When we have realization, then according to this text, we don't have only two objects of meditation, the differentiated image and non-differentiated image. We have three objects of meditation. Differentiated image, non-differentiated image, and what this text called Vastu Paryanta. Vastu Paryanta means we have all-inclusive base. All-inclusive base means we have Yavat Bhavik Tata, we have all that can, we have the whole means the 5 aggregates, the 12 spheres, eye, color, until mind and the mental objects. We have 18 elements, eye, color, and eye consciousness, and so on. We have dependent origination. All this is the whole we have to know is a whole of our experience. We cannot go in the world beyond this whole. And we have yatha bhavitata. That means we have also this whole in terms of the suchness. The suchness has the worldly aspect, like the element of suchness of the element of earth is hardness, softness, and so on. Suchness of sensation is receiving the object. No one can go beyond that. It is a fact. And this fact is equal for all. We may have unpleasant sensation, we may have pleasant sensation, we may have neutral sensation, we may have a sensation in the higher stages of concentration, all kinds of sensations, but they boil down to one thing, and that is receiving the object, lingna. It is a fact. Similarly, we may have many different forms of the earth, but all boil down to the fact of hardness. So it is a suchness of the earth. Of course, hardness, we know hardness because we know softness, we know roughness because we know smoothness and so on. So it is all within the dependent origination. And then the ultimate suchness, of course, is the non-self. Is the emptiness. Then when you work with this third object, through the path of meditation, then you will get into the state of, say, perfect realization. Perfect realization in the worldly sense, perfect realization of the jhana, and so on, and the perfect realization in the ultimate sense too. So here, all approaches are connected in the ideal of perfection. Karya nishpati. Perfect, what is to be done is perfected. So these are the four objects of meditation. Now, this object of meditation on the breath is explained in terms of purifying the conduct. According to this text, and you will find it not only in this text, we have to choose, in order to purify the conduct, we have to choose a suitable object. So when we are troubled by too much sensual desire, we have to choose a non-beautiful object, Puchingquan. When we are troubled by too much resistance, we have to choose a beautiful object like love. When we are deluded, we have to choose for our meditation suitable object for developing wisdom, which is dependent origination. When we have too much pride, we think that we are better than others, we have to choose another suitable object for meditation, which is the six elements. All that the beings are made of is just earth, water, fire, wind, space, and mind. What is there to be proud about? And finally, the meditation on the breath is for removing what the text calls vitarka, vitarkas. Vitarkas means too much applied thought, too much thinking, useless thinking. For removing prapancha, Prapancha means silun. What means silun? What means prapancha? Means extension of the perception based on desire. Actually, when we meditate, we will see that most of our thinking is a completely useless thinking. The more we meditate, the more we become aware how useless the thinking is. And we think too much because our mind is not in peace. When the mind is in peace, we do not think, we do not need to think so much. Then this text also introduces the texts, the objects for what it calls the kaushalyam, for skillful means, for realizing. In the Theravada tradition, it is called the jnata pariññā, realizing the objects of wisdom. In order to meditate well, we have to contemplate the objects of wisdom. Objects of wisdom are the objects connected with the understanding of selflessness. They are the 5 aggregates, the 12 spheres of perception, the 18 elements of perception, dependent origination, and what is possible and not possible on the base of dependent origination. Then you have the purification, worldly purification, and the ultimate purification. The worldly purification is through practicing concentration and realizing more and more subtle objects through concentration. By contemplating the inconvenience of roughness, of grossness. And the ultimate purification for the Shravakas is based on the understanding of the Four Noble Truths. This text belongs to the Shravaka Bhumi, explaining the Shravaka path. So, according to the tradition, what the disciple realizes, the object of realization of the disciples are the Four Noble Truths. Object of realization of the Buddhas for themselves are the 12 links of the dependent origination. And the object of realization of the Bodhisattva, and he connects these realizations, is what? Is a suchness. One object, one truth. All truths can be boiled down to one truth. Ekam hi satyam. There is only one truth, finally. Even you will find the similar principle even in the agamas. Ultimately, there is only one truth. Not many truths. And this one truth is the object of realization of the Bodhisattvas. And this one truth is called emptiness. And in emptiness, in the non-dual sense, is called suchness, Genru, Ruru. And how do we realize suchness? By practicing the perfections. So the practice of shamatha also becomes the practice of perfection. Practice of vipassana becomes also the practice of the perfection. Everything becomes the practice of perfections. Because what we want to realize is a state free from all grossness. That is a perfect state. That is the Buddhahood. And that state is realized only when we have completely abandoned the holding of all signs, all images. This is a very difficult job. This text, even so it belongs, strictly speaking, to the Shravaka path, it explained the Shravaka path with the background of removing all grossness, with the background of realizing emptiness. And it does it on the base of this concept of Alaya consciousness. This is the leading background of this whole book. Alaya consciousness is, or the base consciousness, is the royal path to realizing the ultimate reality. So even the practice of shamatha and vipassana is in a way attuned to this understanding of the alaya consciousness, the base consciousness, which is the base for all of our experience. No matter what kind of beings we are, the base of all of our consciousness is this base consciousness. Why? Because all the seeds of our previous experiences are stored in that and reproduced through it. And reproduced by whom? By the active consciousnesses. And active consciousnesses again form the basic consciousness. This is the dependent origination. All is based in consciousness. And realizing the nature of consciousness means realizing the suchness, becoming the body of Dharma. So this is just the background, the main ideas. And now we come to the meditation on the breath. The text starts by explaining the object of this meditation or mindfulness of the breath, mindfulness of the in-breath and out-breath. And here we come to the main difference between the southern tradition and the northern tradition. When we learn meditation on the breath in the southern tradition, the object is only in-breath and out-breath. Here, so to say, we have 4 objects, not 2 objects. We have in-breath, then the interim in-breath, we have out-breath, and what he calls interim out-breath. So this tradition, in a way, brings us to the Indian yoga tradition. In the Indian yoga tradition, also the main object of meditation on the breath is actually called the kumbhaka. Kumbhaka means actually the stage where you don't have in-breath, you don't have gross breathing. So this text explains 2 kinds of breathing. Actually, we are breathing all the time. Very important to understand. When we stop breathing through the nose or through the mouth, it does not mean we have stopped breathing. If we have stopped breathing, we are dead. So in this tradition, we differentiate 2 types of breathing. The gross breathing, which enters our body through the nose or through the mouth, but actually you should not use the mouth. This would be very, very gross breath. But anyway, that breath which enters our body through the nose, its beginning, as our text says, as Visuddhimagga also explained, its beginning is at the nostril, its middle is in the chest, its end is at the abdomen area, and the out breath, again the beginning in the abdomen area, the middle in the chest, and at the nostrils. This is called the gross breathing. Now this text also speaks of the subtle breath. It calls it interim breath. Interim breath is when the gross in-breath has stopped and the gross out-breath has not yet started. At that stage, there is an interim breath. Now, during this interim breath, actually we are breathing how we are breathing. In this text, it is called the Romakupa. Romakupa means the pores of the skin, literally the wells in the hair. What is meant actually is the pores of the skin. In the scientific language, we can call it the cellular breath. Now, our science is so advanced, even so our minds have not made any revolution. On the contrary, the science has made a big revolution, but our minds have not made any revolution at all. We are still thinking as if we were living in a real world of conflicts, in the real world of existing matter and existing mind being separated. But the science made a revolution. Now we can take a microscope, electronic microscope into the body, and you will see that each and every cell of our body is expanding, shrinking, expanding, shrinking, expanding, shrinking. When you have deep concentration, you can see even the plants. Now it's winter, but when the spring comes, even the cells of the plants, they are extending, shrinking, extending, shrinking, extending, shrinking. And this is life. That's why he translates here what the text calls actually wind. He translates here by vital energy. This wind is actually the vital energy. And this vital energy, when we breathe in, our whole body expands. When we breathe out, our whole body shrinks. But this process appears even on the cellular level. Actually, we are moving all the time. We are expanding and shrinking all the time. Each and every part of our body is expanding and shrinking all the time. That's life. That's vital energy. As long as we have this vital energy, we are alive. So even when we are not breathing in and breathing out through the nose, this vital energy is still shrinking and expanding, shrinking and expanding, shrinking and expanding. Now we are learning Qigong in the morning. Actually, you can start contemplating it and realizing it. Paying attention to these important energy centers like Lao Kung, like Ming Men, like the Yung Chuan, like He Ku, like Lie Qie. You will also see they are expanding, shrinking, expanding, shrinking, expanding, shrinking. Then you can connect them. In the different meridians, you will see these meridians also, they are pulling, pushing, pulling, pushing, pulling, pushing. That is life. Life is pulling, pushing. And all this movement can appear because there is space. Our text explains. So, what is the cause? After explaining these 4 types of breathing, the subtle breathing and the gross breathing, it explains the causes of breathing. Everything that appears all materiality that appears due to space. If there is no space, no materiality can appear. Very important to understand. Now the breath also is a materiality. Materiality may not be a good word, but we don't have possibly any better. We can call it form. The wind is also a form. Why materiality is not an ideal translation for rupa, for se? When I close my eyes and see the picture of someone, of you, or of this clock, it is also matter. So it is also rupa. It is also form. And when I analyze the 4 elements in it, if I have learned the meditation on the 4 elements, it will break into small particles also. Same like this table. No difference. So we cannot, strictly speaking, translate the form as materiality. Let's call it form. So form can only appear in the space. And the gross breath appears in what space? This space also has a technical term in yoga. It is called saushiriam. I don't know how they call it, a big space. This big space is a space in the belly and the qigquan, how to call it, the breathing tube. All this system is called saushiriam. So due to that we can be aware of the gross breath. And how do we become aware of the subtle breath? Through the pores of our skin. When in the period when the in-breath has already stopped and out-breath has not yet started, actually you will feel still there is this movement of expansion and shrinking, expansion and shrinking, expansion and shrinking. This vital energy, or the wind in the body, is connected also to, in Chinese medicine, in Indian medicine, to the circulation of the blood. The heart, the blood, the veins expand, shrink, expand, shrink, expand, shrink. And it is also connected to the wind. According to Buddhism, the pushing sensation is a wind. When we do not breathe through the nose, still there is a pushing sensation all over the body. Each and every part of the body, every cell of it is expanding and shrinking, expanding and shrinking. And it is expanding and shrinking due to the small space. The gross breath is bound to the big space. This breath through the pores of the skin is bound to the subtle space. So, in other words, the text says, what are the causes of inhalation and exhalation? They are two. Propulsive karma. What means propulsive karma? Propulsive karma is that karma which has caused our mind to go through the previous body to our present body. If there was not this propulsive karma, then our mind would not go from the previous body to the present body. And the propulsive karma is again that which will bring at the end of our life our mind from the present body to the next body. This is propulsive karma. In Chinese, they translate it as Qian Yin Ye. So this is dependent origination. Due to ignorance, they are will formations. Due to will formations, in the past, there is the present mind. Our eyes, our ears, our all senses are, of course, also the result of this karma. Propulsive karma. If there was not the desire to see, we would not have an eyes. An eye. If there was not desire to hear, we would not have the ear. What is karma? The active will and the resultant will. The accumulation of the formations. So in order to have a form and to perceive a form, we need the space. And we have a large space for the gross breath, and we have a subtle space for the subtle breath. But these two spaces, very important to understand, they are interconnected. You cannot separate them. This is a secret. In this tradition, the most important meditation is meditation on the mind being like the space. The mind is not the space, because a space cannot feel anything, cannot know anything, but it is like the space. Why it is like the space? Because like the space can receive any object without differentiation, the mind also receives everything. Because it receives everything, it contains everything. Where does it stay? This is what is to be realized. So the big space is not the same as a small space. Or is it the same? Actually, space is one. And space is one, so that is why it can receive everything. Please think about it. So, the wind or the breath, is the gross breath and the subtle breath the same or different? They are finally the one breath, one wind. Finally, the mind, all different types of mind, they also one mind. But that much for today. We will continue tomorrow. So now we come to the practice, and we will explain the practice on the base of this text and on the base of our own experience tomorrow. So always in the morning we will have the practical part, and in the evening we will work on this practical part on the base of this text. So I hope we will slowly get a complete picture of this meditation on the breath and of meditation in general. I will also introduce some of the most important elements of the explanation of Shamatha and Vipassana in the Yogacara Bhumi Shastra, as far as the time allows. So that much for now, and we will round up with the recitation. We don't have time to recite all this, so we will always recite one or two. Today we will recite the Karaniya Metta Sutta, the Sutra of Love. We can recite it in Pali, and you have the English translation, so you can easily check. And then we will recite the Heart Sutra. And tomorrow we will recite the Dharani of the Great Compassion, and again the Heart Sutra. And then Dharani of great compassion, you don't have the Sanskrit, you don't have the English version. Anyway, the Sanskrit is not very grammatical, but I will give you tomorrow the gist of what actually this text says, because in Chinese this Tape Jo has no meaning at all, but the Sanskrit has meaning. Okay, so see the Metta Sutta. Karaniya matta kusalene yantang santang padam abhisameche sako ujuche sujuche suvacho chasse mudu anatimat santu sakoche subaroche apakkichoche salahukavuti santindriyoche nipakoche apagabo kulesu ananugindoa nachakundang samachare kinchi yenye vinyu pare upavadeyong sukino va kemino hontu sabbe satta bhavantu sukitatta yeke chipana bhutatti tasava tavarava anavasesa digha vaye mahanta va majima rasakana katula ditta vaye va additta ye che dure vasanti avidure bhuta va sambhavesi va sabbe satta bhavantu sukitatta naparo param nikumbete na atimanyete katanchinam kamchi Vyaro sanya patiga sanya na anyamanya sadukam micheye mata yata niyam puttamayusa eka puttamanurake evampi sababhutesu manasam bhavaye aparimanam mettam cha sabbalokasmin manasam bhavaye aparimanam udang adoche tiriyanche asambadam averam asapattam tittang charang nisinno va sayano va yavatassa vigatamindo etam satim maditteye brahmam etam viharamidamahu ditincha anupaggama silava dasanena sampanno Kame suvineya gedang nahijatu gabaseyang punaretiti. So now we recite the Heart Sutra. We can recite today in Sanskrit, tomorrow we can recite in Chinese and in English. Today in Sanskrit and in English, tomorrow in Chinese and in English. And we start by worshipping the goddess of the transcendental wisdom. Om Namo Bhagavatyai Arya Pragya Paramitayai Arya Avalokiteshvaro Bodhisattva Gambiram Pragya Paramitacharyam charamanu vyavalokayati sma panchaskandastamscha svabhava shunyan pashyati sma iha shariputra rupam shunyata shunyata eva rupam na pritak shunyata shunyataya na pritak rupam yat rupam sa shunyata ya shunyata tat rupam evam eva vedana samgya samskara vijnanam iha shariputra sarvadharma shunyata lakshana anutpana aniruddha amala avimala anuna aparipurna tasmat chariputra shunyataya na rupam na vedana na samgya na samskara na vijnanam na chakshushotra grana jihva kaya manamsi na rupa shabda gandha rasa sparshtavya dharmaha na chakshu vijnana dhatu yavan na mano vijnana dhatu na avidya kshayo yavan na jara maranam na jara marana kshayo na dukha samudaya nirodha margaha na jnanam na prapti na aprapti tasmat chariputra praptitvat bodhisattvasya pragya paramitam ashritya viharati achita avarana nastitva atrasto viparyasa atikranto nishta nirvana praptaha triyadva vyavastita sarva sambudha pragya paramitam ashritya anutara samyak sambodhim abhisambudha tasmad gyatavyam pragya paramita mahamantro mahavidya mantro anutara mantro sama asama mantraha sarva dukha prashamana satyam amityatvat pragya paramitaya ukto mantraha tadyatha gate gate paragate parasamgate bodhisvaha gate gate paragate parasamgate bodhisvaha gate gate paragate parasamgate bodhisvaha. Now, what is the meaning of gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha? In Chinese, we recite cheti cheti, polo san, cheti boji, so poho. What is the meaning? Nobody knows. But the gate, gate, paragate has a very important meaning. And what does it mean? Gate means to be in the state of being gone. There is special Sanskrit grammar, difficult to translate. English is quite good for that. Very difficult to translate into Chinese. How to translate into Chinese the state of being gone? Not easy. Chinese does not have this grammar of the past participle. So, what is the state of the Buddha? This mantra explains the state of the Buddha. The Buddha is the one who is here, but in the state of being gone. Very wonderful. If you can achieve it, you are a Buddha. Gate, be here, but be in the state of being gone. Gate, para gate. Para means being here in the state of being gone to the other side. Para means the other side. Gate, para sam gate. Sam In fact, we can say Sam has two meanings, correctly and together. The Buddha is the one who is here, yet gone to the other side correctly, together with all sentient beings. This is very wonderful meaning. If you want to become a Buddha, this is what is to be achieved. To be gone to the other side, beyond suffering, together with all sentient beings. When we recite Cheta Cheti Polo, not clear the meaning. So it's very useful to know some Sanskrit. And now we will do the transference of merit, and then the rest or individual practice depends on us. And we will start tomorrow as usual with Qigong. So the transference of merit, I think you have got the text also. So we can do first in Chinese, the most simple version. 愿自功德普济一切我等一众生皆共成佛道. And now in Pali, Aka Satta Chabumatha Deva Naga Mahidika Punyantang Anumoditva Chiram Rakantu Lokasasana. Aka Satta Chabumatha Deva Naga Mahidika Punyantang Anumoditva Chiram Rakantu Desana. Aka Satta Chabumatha Deva Naga Mahidika Punyantang Anumoditva Chiram Rakantu Tumamparam. Eta Vata Chamehi. You have on the other side, I think. Yeah. Eta Vata Chamehi Sambatam Punya Sampadam Sabbe Deva Anumodantu Sabha Sampati Siddhya. Eta Vata Chamehi Sambatam Punya Sampadam Sabbe Bhuta Anumodantu Sabha Sampati Siddhya. Eta Vata Chamehi Sambatam Punya Sampadam Sabbe Satta Anumodantu Sabha Sampati Siddhya. So that much for today, and we try our best to go deeper and deeper into meditation tomorrow. And of course, if we can, even tonight or tomorrow morning,